Hello.
Hi.
Hello, everybody. Come on in. Come on in. Hi, everybody. We're going to wait a minute.
That sounds good to me.
Hi. Just sitting here chatting with my friend Marty. Just chatting.
If we get enough people, I promise I'll make her sing. I don't know. You should get people into the thing because I will 100% make her sing. I'm very persuasive.
That's what we should have been doing while we were just chatting behind the scenes. We should have been practicing.
Practicing, right? You're not ready. How long till my soul gets it right? That's you. That's your part.
I have to admit, I was actually singing Galileo to myself all day long today.
Like, how can you not? It's like, I'm going to see Casey. It's going to be so great.
Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. We're just waiting a few minutes to let everybody in the Zoom chat. Feel free to say hi in the chat if you like. We love a lively chat. We can just make sure it's set to everyone so we can see you. Tell us where you're joining us from. Marty's in New Orleans.
I am in New Orleans and it's already super hot and sticky here. Yay, summer.
What temperature is super hot?
Okay, well, it's not super hot yet. It's just hotter than I would like it to be. I'm gonna let my iPhone tell me. It's currently 92 and it's 6 o'clock in the evening. So, and that's not saying like the humidityness. Let's see. What does Apple think it feels like? Feels like 97, says Apple. So, but it will get worse.
Hot and sticky.
It's just not there yet.
Yeah.
I do love a Massachusetts, a Maine spring, like a New England spring. That's a good situation.
Very different. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Marty and I went to college together, for anyone who did not read the social media posts about this earlier. So she's very familiar with the New England weather we're having right now. It's nice and crisp, I'm sorry to say.
Sounds so lovely. We can trade out. You can come here in winter because here winter is like New England spring. So
that would be good.
And then I'll go there in the spring.
That would be good. Imagine how many books would get written with all that.
So many, and so much like healthy exercise, like all the walks. We will just always be walking. It'll be nice.
Walking and talking and revising in our walks and talks. I love it. Oh, we've got people from Cleveland. Hi, Jay Lee. Rondecoit. Am I saying that right? Colonel Steve Trevor. Kelsey and Maynard. I'm in Maynard, probably right next door. Maybe I can wave to you out the window. Brooklyn. Hi, Candace.
Yay, it's Candace.
Hi. Awesome. Well, maybe we can start. Oh, Kelsey's near Erickson's. That's a great ice cream place. Marty, come visit me. I will take you to Erickson's.
Done.
So
I've been promised ice cream. The internet will hold you to it.
I know. It's recorded. Kelsey's a witness. Oh, it's so nice to have everybody here from all over. I love that about Zoom. So fun. And we get to have Marty here all the way from New Orleans. All right, I'm going to start because I want you all to take beautiful note of this beautiful cover of Marty's incredible book, Wildseed Witch. Book one, thankfully. Book one of what, 3? Are we getting 3?
Well, for sure we have 2. It's pandemic times. I need everybody to buy the book, buy it. But it'll be more than 2.
Okay, good. Buy the book because you will want more than one of these books. I'm telling you, this is such a good read. I finished it this weekend. I read the whole thing this weekend, cover to cover, actually. So we are here and I just want to start by showing everybody what we got at the bookstore. My name is Casey Robinson. I am the events manager at the Silver Unicorn Bookstore, fabulous independent bookstore in Acton, Massachusetts. And I am here tonight with my dear friend from college, Marti Dumas, who is joining us from New Orleans. And I would like to show you what arrived at our bookstore because this is not typical. We got this lovely little package from the publisher. Ooh, with all sorts of treats inside. Look at this. Look at this. Wait, I just want to show.
So I don't have one of those, and I'm looking at it and it's gorgeous.
Marty, it's amazing. This is not normal. Look, we've got the invitation. It has a little seal on it. Can you guys see this?
The fleur-de-lis, so Louisiana.
Fleur-de-lis. Amazing. And then we've got this little card and the ARC, which is the advanced reader copy. So folks like bookstore people can read it in advance and talk about it. And I love this. Look at this little.
Oh,
isn't that cool?
yeah.
A lot of beautiful green things and flowers in this book. And I was trying to find something festive. This is as good as I got. It's
You
paper,
got it. You did it.
right? I was going to try to put it in my hair for our conversation, but it sort of took over my head. So
It is large. It's
sort of large, magnolia large. So I'll just keep it right here.
That's right. I actually, I should have worn my own magnolia clips. I have like a giant like magnolia clip for my hair, but I also thought maybe it might be overkill on camera.
I love it. For our next book conversation,
There we go. We're gonna come flowery. Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you tell us what your book is all about? Because I know you're going to do a better job than I will. And then I'm going to fill in all sorts of color commentary later.
Sure. Okay. So my book, Wildseed Witch, is my 11th book for children. And it is about a 13-year-old named Hasani. And it is just right at the start of summer vacation. You know, all of her friends have gone out of town. She's basically like everybody's already on their like, you know, road trips and like vacations or whatever. And so she's kind of like by herself. And but that's all right, because she's thinking, well, it's a great time to work on my YouTube channel. And she already has 18 subscribers. She's well on her way. She's hoping that by the end of the summer that she could maybe possibly hit 100. And if somehow she figures out maybe how to trap her parents back together, then that would be okay too. But I mean, she literally has no plan about that. So like, you know, good luck to you. However, one day her dad picks her up to bring her to his house. And on the way over there, she realizes that her dad is smiling like a lot, like maybe a little too much. And it comes out, her dad mentions that there's someone waiting for her at the house, waiting to meet her, named Sandy. And Hasani puts two and two together and realizes that maybe her dad is gonna be moving on with a new person. And understandably, Hasani has feelings, like big feelings, full, round, giant feelings. And as a result of those feelings, a bridge in New Orleans, the St. Claude Bridge, is entirely covered in morning glories, inoperably so. And it is such a huge outburst that it attracts the attention of a network of witches. And that's where the story kicks off.
My daughter read this book before. I was telling Marty before I did. She grabbed it and it disappeared, and then it was returned to me with the insistence that I read it immediately. And she said, I asked her what she liked about it, and she said that it seemed like it could really happen. That a regular girl finds out she's got magic, and that it felt like someone she would be friends with. And so I think from a kid reader's perspective, one of the reasons I love this book is because it sort of takes this very fantastical, fun, charming sort of wish kids have to have magic. I used to desperately wish that I had magical powers when I was Hasani's age.
You probably do, Casey. Let's just be real.
I wished on every star. Nothing ever happened. So, I mean, so there's this really compelling part of the story, but also she is a fully formed, awesome kid in a modern world, right?
Yeah.
Loves the makeup on the cheap kids channel. I really want that to happen.
Like, comment, share, subscribe, y'all. So yeah, no, I really do strive for that. And I'm glad that it maybe landed at least with your family. It is something that I am working toward because of all the years that I was a teacher. Like kids are super real to me. They're like, awesome individual, real people who've got real lives and real problems. And so for me, having the kid feel real is a huge part of it. And then also like not even so secretly, I was going to say secretly, but I don't think it's a secret. I kind of think magic is real. And I probably think that it's a little bit rooted in emotion and our power to like connect with other people and influence other people. And so when I am writing stories with kids with magic, I really try to make it seem like this is connected enough to our world that like it might be around the corner. That's what I really hope. Like like less of a Narnia moment and more of a, oh snap, like this literally might happen to me kind of situation. So yeah.
Well, you do such a good job of embedding it in both your character, because it feels like it grew from her in a way. It wasn't coming from the outside in. It felt like it grew from her, but also it's embedded in like modern day, which feels new and fresh to me. I haven't read any books like that. It's always, I don't know, it just, that part was super cool. So there's this whole, Marti does this really amazing thing with tech. So the kids it's modern day magic.
It's
so
now.
It's rooted in YouTube, and there's this whole sort of cool use of technology that is very respectful of kids. So it's both a means of communication, but also a form of artistic expression. So I wanted to ask you to talk about that a little bit. Like you do it so well. It does not feel manufactured at all.
Okay.
So from a fiction standpoint, sometimes fiction can feel a little like, like there's a
little stretched. Okay.
A little wizard behind the scenes doing some narrative things, but
absolutely.
This feels very real and authentic to Hasani and all of her friends and to the adults too. So can you talk a little bit about how that came to be, and like, are you a secret YouTuber, Marti? Do you have like?
I do not have a secret YouTube channel, although I do have a secret ukulele Instagram. And no, I will not be disclosing the thing because I've been, my pandemic project has been learning the ukulele. However, I absolutely. Again, this is me with the magic, right? So I have always joked with my children. And before I had my own biological children I called them also my children, my students in my classroom. So my kids from school and also with my own children, I would joke with them about, not joke, say, right? That magic is anything, any work that someone else has done that you can't see, right? So as soon as you understand it, then that piece is not a magic, but sometimes it opens a door for another level of magic, right? So like my cell phone, I have a vague notion of how this works, but truly it is a magic to me, right? I couldn't repair it. Like I couldn't build a new one if needs be. And so then I kind of feel like we think that we don't believe in magic and that we don't that we all want like very logical explanations for things, but truly we actually are willing to take and use items all the time that we have absolutely no idea how they work. It could totally be magic. So in my mind, if there were witches, if there were people who had a power to be able to influence the world around them that came from within them, I would think that they would be the drivers of things like this, not people who avoided things like this or tried to like stick to a very old way. I would think that witches would be the leaders and not even be down to the modern times, that they would be drawing the modern times, like a few steps ahead. And so then that's where that is. And that is in fact how the world functions. So we get to see more of the wider world of people who are the talented in the next book, but I think that there are little peaks of it. Yeah, and here, like it functions this way. You'll just get more, you'll see it more, so you'll have more explanation in the next books.
I can't wait. I also wanted to ask you about there's just so many layers to this book. This is another thing I loved about this. There's Hasani and her family plots, and the way that it starts, Marty described, is very much something that, a thread that carries through the book. And then there's the social scene at the secret school for witches, and all of the dynamics, the interesting dynamics with the kids at play there. And then there's sort of this personal journey that she's going on to figure out who the heck she really is.
Yeah.
And that is something that you feel as a reader right from inside her, like right along the way. It isn't something you watch happen, it's something you feel. And so I wanted to ask you, when you started writing this, everybody starts with something, right? You start with a seed or a character or a scene or a feeling. So how did you come up with the idea? And what was first? What came first for you?
Okay. So top on the list for me, because it's obviously a few things come. So to make a story, right? To make a vignette, you probably just need one little piece, right? And I'm not a pantser writer. So there are some people who sit down with a very, very small idea and they just let the idea carry with them where they go. And I do that to a certain extent, but maybe like 30%, not like 70, 80, 90%. For the most part, when I sit down to write a story, I already know how it ends. And not for the most part, 100% every time. If I'm sitting down to actually write the story, I know where it's supposed to end. Now, maybe some things change in the middle, right? Like maybe some of the big turns are slightly different, like once the story gets going on paper, but on computer. but I definitely know where it ends. But for a novel, for me, there are a lot of threads, especially if I'm trying to make as much of a human as I can as the main character. And that's not always a writer's goal, right? Writers are not always trying to make their main characters very, very human. In this case, I was, because I was paying homage to something that I'll get to in a second. But because of me wanting to make sure that this character felt human to me, I know that dynamics and interactions with nobody has only one problem at a time. Nobody has only one thing going on at a time. And it is the pressure of all of those things coming together that really shape us and drive us. If it were one thing at a time, we would all handle life smooth sailing. Like,
checklist.
Got it. Check. But that's not how it works. So then for me, it was really important that there are layers of problems, because that's real. Like that's life. And so then I try not to make too many layers, but like definitely there is like a parent layer that's not in her control. There's this newfound power situation that she has that she has to figure that out. And then also there's like the making friends at a new place where maybe you belong but don't belong, which is also its own kind of thing here. So one of the inspirations for this character one of my nieces, who is in fact a makeup Instagrammer. And when she was little, like maybe 6, she wanted makeup so badly. And her mom is like me. I never wear makeup. Like I really don't. And her mom never wears makeup. And I realized that we were being judgy. The child was trying to make art. And we were being judgy. And that's not cool. So like when I started thinking about that, I was thinking, okay, I definitely want to do a character at some point that has this as an artistic passion, because that helps me to write myself out of my own bigotry, right? So then I'm like, okay, that's a part of it. But then the other pieces of it, I really wanted to ground something in Louisiana. There are lots of books that are written about Louisiana, some of which stay in Louisiana, but ones that are on the national stage are often written by people who are outside, and I love them. This is no shade on people who are, because I mean, I write things about places that I don't live all the time. However, there is a really different sensibility to the place. There is a different kind of magic. I think more, to me, real feeling kind of magic that comes from being in the place and seeing it from the inside out rather than from the outside in. And so then I knew that I wanted to ground it here as well, but just like I learned about the New Jersey Turnpike from reading the Babysitter's Club books, right? Kids can learn about the St. Claude Bridge from reading the Wildseed Witch books.
Yep.
It's all,
Yep.
this is how we learn. This is how we get to know each other all around. Yeah.
From bridge to bridge.
Bridge to bridge. That's right.
So you knew where it was going to end. Did you know where you were going to start the story, or?
So no, starting is a little bit different. I have to, I guess, right? Or maybe you're just like chef's kiss and you hit it every time.
No.
But for me, I have to guess about where I want to just be a couple of steps before the primary conflict. And that's actually one of the things that we edited in the revision of from the manuscript to the finished version, is that I thought, oh, well, I'm going to be pitching this one to like a bigger publisher. So I'm going to make sure that the pacing is really fast, and I'm going to make sure that it goes pretty quickly from what regular life for Hasani looks like straight into the problem of the story, right?
Yeah.
But we actually slowed it down, which I was happy for. Like, we added a little bit more of what her regular life is like at the beginning to be able to, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
I liked that a lot. Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, that's my natural pacing. So good to know that my natural pacing also kind of works in this context too. So, so we had that, but, so it ended up starting in the same place, but the time on page expanded a little bit in this place, which was good. I have a book called The Little Human that is about a little girl who desperately wants to swim in the sea. Her father won't let her, but then she finds out why. So in that book, I wrote the first chapter literally 11 times. I have 11 versions of the first chapter of that book. And humorously, I went with the first. However, I wrote 11 before I decided that the first was actually the one. So yeah, I don't know. Does that answer? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love to hear about this stuff. I think it's important that people know how much work goes into the finished pages, because, you see the thick pages and you think, especially for people, we have lots of, pre-published writers who come to these events. Hi, pre-published writers, if you're out there, to hear what it's like, to hear the process, to hear, how much thought and change and revision and all that goes into it. So I think I always love to hear those stories. So I wanted to ask you also about, Marti. I've known Marti for many years. She is very charming, generally.
Aw, that's
very
sweet.
Charming.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of charm involved.
There is a lot of charm.
A lot of charm. So let's talk about how you did some research on this, Marti. I want to know if you had to go to a manners course to get some insight into the instruction on such things, or tell me what the research process was.
Absolutely. So obviously I read a ton, right?
Yes.
It's not surprisingly, a lot of information is not available in print about what would be in a finishing school, because the idea is for the people who have been finished at the finishing school to appear polished naturally and not polished by a program. So then there's that. But I was able to talk with a friend for several hours who had spent some time in a Swiss finishing school, which I thought was amazing. They did not finish finishing school. It's harder than you might think, but so there's that bit. And then also just through I don't know if people know the AKAs. They're like a historically Black sorority, and my mother was an AKA. And so then through the AKAs, I was actually able to find somebody who runs a finishing school in Texas who talked to me about like some things that they try to like help smooth out in the girls and the thing. So yes, that is like one of the things. These are all adults, so like the turns won't necessarily be the same, but like it is a literal charm school. Like it's a literal charm school, except that all of the girls there have magic. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I found it was totally captivating. I kept thinking, how does she know this? Is this just all, it didn't feel like, I mean, it felt rooted in something. So
You're like, you got it from somewhere. Where is
Yeah.
this? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I loved it. And the teachers are then in the characters, the teachers are wonderful. They're really fun.
Yeah.
I have to watch what I'm saying, so I don't want to give too much away, but okay. And let's talk about the floral motif, the flowers. So where did that come from? Tell us about that.
So where I live is very tropical. Louisiana is really lush and tropical, and I mean, technically semi-tropical, but it's green here all year round. And your problem usually isn't getting your flowers to grow. It's to stop them growing up your house, etc. Right. So then that's a different thing. So that part of it was just like, it was natural. Right. But the idea of actually having, I don't even know how or exactly where it came. It just felt true. In the story, in the magic system, in the story, you can make flowers with your magic. That's a thing you can do, but it's not a thing you would typically do intentionally. It's usually a thing that happens if you've accidentally used too much. So it's kind of like a waste when the flowers are showing up. And so each person has a signature flower, like the flower that appears when they have had a wastage. And I knew just instant, I think that the reason that I knew that was true was because I knew that Hasani's flower needed to be the morning glory. And
why is that?
It has so much symbolism in it. So like the morning glory, first of all, they are everywhere in New Orleans. They are like, if there is what do y'all call, we call them hurricane fences. Y'all call them chain link fence. Is that a thing? You know? Okay. So they are, if there's a chain link fence, there are probably morning glories growing up. It possibly also meant, but definitely probably morning glories growing up the thing. And most of the year it will just look like, vines that you just need to pull down, right? But in the spring and the early summer, it's covered in these gorgeous, absolutely beautiful, delicate purple flowers. But it's hot here. It's already, we discussed for people who are here early, it's already 92 in the evening here, plus humidity. So the very delicate petals of the flower cannot actually take the heat of the day. So they close and they look awful. Like they look sad and dead every single day. But then every morning they are whole and perfect, and they're like flush with dew, and it's exquisite. And I just really felt like I just knew it. That's Hasani, and that's her journey. Like that's the thing that's happening with her. So I knew that was that, and then everybody else kind of fell in around her.
I love that. See, this is what I'm talking about. These decisions that are multifaceted. Right? It makes a gem of a book that much shinier when you have that kind of narrative decision-making behind the scenes. I love knowing this.
Aw.
Marti, so
I was gonna
good.
say, you right. I'm just being a weirdo who makes
You're
things
not
out of her
being
head seem more real. Like that's
I mean, aren't all writers weirdos? Isn't that like what we're just figuring out?
So say we all, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I also wanted to mention, I think I forgot to say this earlier, but if anybody has questions for Marti, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll just, I'm keeping an eye on the chat. So if you want to ask questions, by all means, throw them in there and I can ask her for you. Okay, what else was I going to ask you? Was there anything surprising to you about writing this? Like, was anything harder than you thought? Was there anything that you thought was going to be awesome that you ended up having to edit out? You know, anything surprising at all?
So I think that of the story, because I really had kind of pre-thought the story. So my surprises probably happened in my pre-thinking about the story. But I think that some of the reactions to the story, the early drafts of the story, are what like kind of shocked me. So like I thought of the story as very light, and I was like, this is my popcorn story. I'm gonna just be writing an M&M story, and it's gonna be, but then like, oh, here's the thing. As I was writing it, I had no intention when I sat down to draft it, I had no intention of including any mention of like enslavement in Louisiana or like sugarcane. And it's very light. right? Like it's not a lot.
Yeah.
But I found that when I was sitting and writing it, that I just felt like a liar not putting it in. And so then I ended up having to like put it in a touch. And so I think that truly, so my family is from, or part of my family is from Vacherie, which is the town in Louisiana, the real town in Louisiana, where this the magical school Les Belles Demoiselles Pensionnat des Sorcières is hidden in a sugarcane field in Vacherie. And it's a real place that my father's side of the family is from. And the first time that I went there as an adult, like on my own power, like not dragged there for a funeral or something. And I was just, feeling grown up with my own car and like driving places by myself and did not. When I got out of the car, I'm not kidding or exaggerating, although I am prone to both. I felt the energy of my ancestors around me. It was like coming from the ground into my feet. I really felt the magic of the place. And so then that part of it is part of the place. Like it's a part of the place. And so then, but then I also think that it contributes to the magic. So like that part of it's in there. But the thing that I was going to say before I remembered that answer in real time is that, so my children now almost 17 and just turned 13 have always been alpha readers for me. Even when they were little and I was writing things that were for youngers, they would do it, and now older. But they are not kind alpha readers. They are like super rough and just like kind of flat, like that's dumb, like just like they just put it out there. There's no, because I'm just So my oldest read this one in its original draft and I was in the shower, knocked on the door, came into the bathroom while I was in the shower. I'm thinking it's an emergency. I'm like, nothing is happening. What is going on? The oldest is sobbing, absolutely sobbing, like choke sobbing. And I was like, what? Okay. Just give me a second. Right. So now I'm out of the shower and they are saying, I don't want to finish this book. They're really mean to her. And and I was like, okay, where are you? And like they said, and I was like, okay, literally give it 3 more pages.
Yeah.
Just
keep
3
going.
more pages. Just keep going. Like, anyway, and so it was a river. But when that happened, so like this one again is one that would be like, when it moved my oldest, I was like, oh, okay. Like maybe that was surprising to me because already my oldest was out of the age range for this. I mean, the age range, kids. I mean,
right.
Yeah. But out of the like target age range for this book. So that they were responding so strongly. I was like, okay, there's something in it. Like there's a thing in it. And so then that was actually very surprising to me because this is supposed to be a little popcorn book. Like this is my little M&M's candy book.
That reminds me of, I think it was Catherine Patterson who wrote the great Gail Hopkins, right?
Love that book. Oh my goodness. Tell me you love that book, Casey.
I love it.
Okay.
And but I think I'm pretty sure she said, I heard her speak once and she said when she wrote it, she thought it was going to be like a funny book.
I mean, it was funny.
It was not funny.
It had a lot going on.
But, right. But so that reminds me a little bit of that, like you sort of, well, I mean, that's another reason why what I said earlier about just feeling the authenticity of the character and the heart of the character, it's real, and it was obviously real to your kid too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a testament.
It's something. Yeah. It's something. Yeah.
And, putting in some of that history too, I think, I believe you when you say you felt that magic, that energy from your ancestors on that land, because it feels like the winds of wisdom in that sugarcane field in those scenes, with the elders and the all the people.
There are people, right?
All the people.
So
I know I have to keep trying not to say too much because I don't want to give anything away, but yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. I have a question from Jay Lee. She said, it's interesting that Hasani's coping decompressing method is putting on makeup. Why did you choose makeup? So is that because of what you were saying earlier about your niece?
It is. And also it is such an art. Like it just absolutely is such an art. And so then I have Hasani do a nod to that, right? That at least for her mom's sake, she calls it an art. But I think that on the inside, she really feels like it is. And it does, because art is a relief. Like we need to make art. We have to make art. We get like pent up and like little hard parts of ourselves that need pressure relief when we don't make art. And so then I agree with that. Like, I mean, not that I have to, it's already a published book. So that means it's out there, which means you can decide whatever it means all on your own. And I can't really contradict you. However, I agree. I think that she does use it as a release, because I think that art gives all of us a release. If it were a dance, then it would maybe look a little different. If it were, a different kind of visual art, it would maybe look a little different. But yeah, I think that that's why that works that way.
Yeah, I liked it too, because it's such an obvious form of self-expression. And so we get to see, we don't see her painting something and then waiting for the art gallery exposition. Like we see her doing her thing and feeling it. And then she gets to go out into whatever public she's doing, right? Whatever situation but you can kind of feel her energy that she gets from that too. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's like self-filling. Yeah. Yeah.
So what I like to ask too about your process. So are you a prolific writer? Are you fast? Do you wait
until you
got it all in your head? Are you?
I am such a slow writer.
Stop it.
No, for real, I am. I'm just a very consistent writer. So unless the world is falling apart, and obviously sometimes the world is falling apart, like that's just how that goes, right? But when the world is not falling apart, I write every morning, and I get my, relative to many of my fast writer friends, minuscule number of words done, right? But they add up, y'all. So like, even if you're only getting, and I'm a full-time writer, and there are some days that I only get 700 words on the page all day, right? So then, but that adds up over time. And so then when I was not being full-time and I was getting 300, like that was actually a lot harder, because I always go back, right? And read myself back into the point that I'm going to write from. And so then if I have a very short window of time, going back takes some of the time. And so then I can only get forward like a few inches, right? So then that was a lot harder, but even still, the words continue to add up. So yeah, that's a part of it. I'm a morning person, like a very morning person. This is not my time of day. So I actually used to do a podcast with my co-host, lived in Australia, and she would always be apologizing because we'd be meeting at like 3 a.m. my time, 4 a.m. my time. And I'm like, no. This is me. This is good. Like,
yeah,
I'm up. Like, this is great. So yeah, I naturally write very early in the morning. I start to slow down mentally by like 10 a.m., 11 a.m. I'm not so smart. I might have to keep going because maybe I have deadlines. But if it's sort of like a perfect world, I would probably like chill out by that point and start to switch into, I post on the internet mode. I hardly ever post on the internet, but I would like switch into I post on the internet mode, and also like doing all the like, random. It feels random to me. It's not. It's just running a business. Like when you're an author, you are a very small business, and so then all the businessy things, like I would kind of cluster those in the afternoon until I turn into a mom at the end of the school day. So then there's that, or randomly in the middle of the school day, if somebody calls me from school, that's also a thing that can happen to you. So
or drags you out of the shower,
right?
So how long did it take you to write Wildseed Witch?
We at our launch event at Blue Cypress Book, somebody asked this question and I couldn't answer it, but luckily I have people that I do I have critique partners. We meet every Sunday, and we all write in different genres. But because of that, they were in the audience and they answered for me. So they said it took 7 months for me to write this book. But they were also including the revisions. This one, I actually mostly outlined before I sat down and did it. So it wasn't a scene by scene outline, but it was definitely, I knew what all the turns were. So I was writing to each of the,
That makes sense. Steve has a really good question. I wanted to ask you, if you don't know quite yet, if it's going to be 3 books, 2 books, 5 books, 7 books of Magic Charm School, how do you navigate that? How do you navigate not knowing?
Okay, so this actually had me in a tizzy for a very long time because I, as a reader, hate when things don't feel tied up in the end. When a series stops, as a reader, it's not going to be my experience that like, oh, but that book was released during a pandemic, so maybe it won't have as many books as it, like that wouldn't have been my experience as a reader. I'd have been like, what? Like this is, I just, so then I was really trying very hard to structure the books in such a way that it could either end after 2, which is like the second book is done, right? Or that it could still go on. Like it's a huge world. It's a really big world. And I would be really excited to write more of it because the more books we have, the like more I can show the world. So then that's great. However, maybe we don't get them. So I wanted to make sure that it also felt like, okay, maybe if it's just 2, then that's okay as well. That is, I was like actually getting sick over it. Like, because that's 2 totally different book 2s. Like book 2 of 5 is a completely different book than book 2 of 2. Like that's just it. And so we're not 100% settled. So I won't say which way it's going to go, but like book 2 is with the editor. And what I did right now was I landed it, but then I teased it.
Okay. So then landing that you gave a wink over the shoulder.
That's right. That's right. But it may not, because like I said, you know how editor, I mean, and I love my editor. She's great. Maggie Lehrman. She's great. And I trust her thoughts, right? Like not every thought partner would you take 90% of what they think, right? And try to like wrestle with it. And I really would with her. She's great. So I don't actually know Maggie's thoughts about the book yet. We'll see. And maybe Maggie thinks, oh no, we'll just land it. Or maybe Maggie thinks, no, like tease it, let it go. Cause we're going to have whatever. We'll see. Right. Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. But yes. No, that was a thing that I was really, really super struggling with.
Yeah. I even trying to wrap my head around that, making all those decisions tough. I mean, I'm going to put the link just in case anybody wants to order your copy.
You totally want it. You do. You
like the Silver Unicorn. You can get one. And you can go online to Silver Unicorn Books and pick it up with us or have it shipped to you. And the more copies Marti sells, the more story we get, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. Okay, I thought of another question I jotted down. Hold on. So I want to ask you, I'm trying to think of how to word this. Did you have all the threads figured out when you started?
I did. And in fact, we cut a thread. So, really? Yes, I know. You think, Marti, she's juggling enough, and she is. We actually cut a thread. We cut a thread that would have nodded more to the second book, and we're like it'll go in there. But I did have the threads worked out, but that doesn't mean that like I just sat down and did it in one day. Like I was thinking about this book for a long time, right? Like I was, like on my morning walks, when it's like not 100 degrees, I was like rolling this book around in my head before I sat down to write an outline. So then when I sat down to write an outline, I had a pretty good idea of everything, but like putting thought to page for me really helps me organize the thoughts even more. So then they were pretty solid from there. And I was just really hoping that the threads wouldn't feel disparate because they're all a part of her life,
Right.
that they would feel like they were coming together to make
Yeah.
her life. So then
Yeah, they
we'll
do
see.
100%.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody anything. I'm doing a very good job of not
excellent
giving any
with
spoilers.
a spoiler-free zone. Yes.
Yes. But there's like a whole little plot twist towards the end that I did not see coming. And
Yay!
really,
I love when writers don't see my plot twist. That's
Yes!
great.
it was really, I mean, you know, it was a page turner. I didn't, and it sort of like took all of those threads, twisted them up a little bit and flipped them over. And so it was a very fun read. So I was just thinking about like, did you see that coming? It's just so well executed.
So that the thing that you're cryptically referencing right now is when I knew that I was ready to sit down to write the story. Like when I knew that, like that's that I was like, oh, okay, now we can write it out. Now I can like, you know, make sure that this is going to be paced and figure out exactly where it starts and then yes.
Yeah. So that's a footnote actually for any of you pre-published writers listening to this. The 7 months of writing is not including the X number of months of walking around, getting your groceries and your produce, thinking about plot twists.
That.
Right? For
that.
Sometimes months,
I have no idea. I can't even tell you.
Right.
I have no idea how long. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's another thing that's so interesting is like the wheels are always going, right? And you're putting pieces together. And then when you know, when there's enough of a frame and you can sit down and you can put it down on paper, then you go to town. It's awesome. And then you get a great book like this.
Oh my gosh, look at that cover. Oh.
So let's talk about the cover. How did you
Eric Davila.
Eric
New York,
Davila. Excellent.
A New York-based artist. He is amazing. I, first of all, had zero to do with this cover. They literally sent me the cover in the mail and they were like, look at your cover. And I gasped.
Okay.
I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, I think that that's Eric Davila because I already was like quietly stalking him on the internet because I thought he was amazing. It is pure magical happenstance that we were connected because they didn't know that I really super liked his work. Like he did with the Fire on High and just like a bunch of other stuff that I just think is absolutely gorgeous. And so then I was like, this is all coming together because it's like so amazing.
So
absolutely
one
gorgeous.
day, I mean, this happens with picture book writers, right? You get your characters delivered to you and
you're like, what? Oh,
like out of your head and onto the page in a visual format. So what did this feel like when you got to see this? I mean, especially if you didn't know Eric was the one doing the illustration. Like
I know. And they've done so many, like when you get the finished version, which I'm going to make sure you get, Casey, or you have them in the store, but they have done all kinds of like little holographic situations and like the flowers feel like they have even more depth than they do on that. It's absolutely gorgeous. So when I got this, I was like, okay, this is amazing because it's my first time working with a team at Abrams. And I was like, okay, yeah, y'all know what you're doing. That's great. This is good job, I guess, you know, whatever. Yeah. So there was that bit, but then also I, again, have these really harsh testers in my own home, right? So the next thing I do, because I actually am really terrible at art, I've not practiced it. So I'm not going to say that I would always be terrible at art. That's not true. However, right now it is not a skill that I have ever put any time into. And also I have, secret revealed, a really hard time reading pictures. Like so hard that one time my husband and I were like driving around a new town that we just moved to Jacksonville. And my husband goes, oh, there's a library over there. And I'm like looking around. I'm like, where? Like, and I was like, how did you know that? He was like, there was a sign. Well, I'm a compulsive sign reader. And I did not see a sign that said library. So anyway, we turn around, we're coming back and he's like, there's the library sign. There are no words on this sign. There is a circle and 2 rectangles. And I was like, what in the world? Like, how is that the library sign? And he's like, it's a person reading a book. Okay. So this is and I was like, is it whatever? Fine. This is my level of not being able to read pictures. Okay. So I turned to my oldest, who is an artist and can read pictures and often has to decode them for me because I have no idea what's going on. And I show them this cover and they go, I mean, the art's nice. But I mean, kind of makes it look like a magical coming of, oh yeah, no, it's good. It's good. It's like, I was like, okay, it's good.
That's hilarious. And we're done. Jaylee asked a really good question. Do you know if Eric read your book before?
No, he did not. I actually just found out for sure. I always assume that they haven't because like there are art directors, publishing houses have art directors, and they work really closely with whoever's gonna, like if it's in a picture book and they're doing illustrations on the inside, they are the in-between person usually. I mean, there's always exceptions, but usually they're the in-between person. And so then they will have read your book, but not necessarily the artist. Like they might just be conveying things to them. And so I didn't know which was the case, except that now Eric and I are, Instagram friends. And so then he let me know when he was starting to listen, and he's been like giving me little updates of like different parts.
I love
he
it.
got the audiobook version of it. So he's been listening now to the book post, which is absolutely great. Yeah.
Did you read the audio version? Or
I haven't actually yet listened to the audio version, although I just keep hearing really good things about it. So I'm excited. In fact, my sister-in-law, who I'm not sure has ever, one of my sisters-in-law, who I'm not sure has ever read one of my books, which by the way, I'm not a person who makes family read the book because they're not my target audience. And so then I am not like, everybody, y'all have to buy it. I mean, you can buy it. It's fine. Buy and give it to somebody. But I am not like, everybody needs to read the book, right? Like every book is not for everybody. And that also goes for family, right? So I'm not sure that my sister-in-law has ever read any of my books before, but this one she's listening to on audio. And she messaged me saying, she was like, she makes it feel like you. She's all like animated like you. And I'm like really enjoying it. So I'm like, ooh, next plane trip, I'm going to listen to the audiobook too. We'll see how it goes.
I know.
So anyway.
I feel like now I'm going to have to download it from my Libro app just to hear it. I bet it's just as fun in a different way.
I'm betting. Yeah. I love audiobooks because I feel guilty when I sit down to read something that's not for work. And so then I am freed in the audiobook form because I'm probably doing something else, right? Like I'm probably like cleaning the kitchen or like driving to pick up a child, or like I'm accomplishing like one of those like important tasks, and my fun can just be right and productive, and yet still getting a little story time for learning. So yeah, it took me a little while to get adjusted to listening to them because like anything, it takes a kind of stamina, right? Like just like reading with your eyes takes stamina, but now I'm all about it. So it's good.
Okay, what do we have to look forward to from everyone's new favorite author, Marti Dumas?
Okay,
so book 2 is out when? How much longer?
I think it's this time next year because like I think the idea is that it's 2023. So we'll hopefully that all works out. We don't like schedule delays. So let's hope that works out.
Yes.
I have the last book in my Seeds of Magic trilogy comes out at the end of the summer. That is the one where a little girl who has like a very wild backyard finds a chrysalis that does not incubate a butterfly, it incubates a dragon. And so then like the Age of Dragons is set off again. That's awesome. And so the last one of those comes out in August. And then I am not sure I'm also working on a book with Zayila Avantgarde, the little super genius who won she's not little, she's 15 now, but the super genius who won the Scripps National Spelling Bee last year. So I am actually not sure when that one comes out, but it'll be like this calendar year for sure. And that's all I can say at present, although there are a couple more irons in the fire.
Okay, that is all good news. I mean, that gives us a lot to hold on to, and little sparks of excitement about what we don't yet know.
Indeed.
I love it. I think we're just about out of time.
Okay.
Leave this one so fast. I wish we had a whole nother hour, Marti.
Oh my gosh. Well, out of kindness, I'm not going to make you sing, Casey, because when I said it earlier, you were like, no. But
Marty and
maybe
we used to sing in an a cappella group together.
we did. We absolutely sang in an a cappella group together. And she was like the kindest, like most welcoming person. And I was like all jittery and awkward. And like, she made it seem very smooth and cool and like I belonged, which was like very nice. It was
That's
good.
a nice thing to say.
It's a true thing to say. And also I am really very proud to have such an active author friend who is out there doing stuff. I aspire to be able to write picture books. So I'm really, really super proud of you. Like I don't know if I'm saying that. And sometimes people think that I am being tongue in cheek and I'm really not. Like writing a picture book for me would be way more difficult than writing a novel. It takes a full vision and a conciseness of language that is just not natural to me. And like, obviously is lovely and lilting and beautiful in Casey. So like, that's something that I really admire. So we have that out there as well.
Why we're friends, because I feel exactly the same way about putting 60,000 words together in any sort of way that ties lots of narrative threads together and makes you feel all kinds of things. And that's what you do really well. And so I am equally in admiration of you, my friend.
Yay.
Thank you all for being here, for supporting independent bookstores and authors, and we're really grateful. Come see us at the Silver Unicorn in Acton, Massachusetts, or visit us online, silverunicornbooks.com. Marti, such a treat.
Yay. It was so good to get to see you.
Everyone needs to go get a copy of this Wildseed Witch. It's just fabulous. Look at this, the back of the cover too.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And I hope you like it.
Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.